Coming up on today's episode of DLLS Mavs, we recap the Mavericks preseason opener, plus we dial up the Stein line live in studio with Mark Stein with his news and notes on the Mavericks and around the association. All that and more on today's episode of DLLS Mavs. Here we go. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks insider Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella, and National and Mavericks NBA insider Mark Stein. We are DLLS Mavs, your favorite guys covering your favorite team every single day at Kevin Gray Sports, at Tim_Cato, at Bobby Carella. And you can always dial up the Stein line at the Stein line. So much to get to on today's episode of DLLS Mavs. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the video. Mavericks preseason opener in the books. Who stood out? Who helped themselves? And we dial up the Stein line at 12:30 today with Mark Stein's news and notes on the Mavs and around the league. But gentlemen, it's a terrific Tuesday. Real, semi-real basketball was played last night. Ready to get into how we fellas doing today?
I just can't believe Mark Stein's here in studio.
Woo!
After all this time. I just thought that, you know, you walked out to get cigarettes and you never came back. What happened, Dad?
And he came back with merch too. Not look at that. He not only came back.
That's true. That's
he
true.
came back with merch.
Everybody
looking good. No, turn
to the camera.
DLLS,
Check the hat.
give him a shot. There it is. There's a DLLS hat there.
If he's got a hat, that means that you might have a shirt. And if you don't, it's on its way. It's got to be here soon.
Yeah,
I think
gotta be here
that's
soon.
what it means, right?
Our shirts went out to get cigarettes as well. But they'll be back.
They'll be back at some point.
I have to. I almost burst into tears before the show because Tim, you like Kishibashi, this musician. Kishibashi was in a band called Jupiter One. Jupiter One made albums back in the day. Their album has been locked behind the ultra secret mega paywall for the last nearly 20 years, and today it was finally released onto Spotify. So this is like one of the best days of my life. Everyone who played FIFA 08, you know, Unglued, it's here, baby. We're good. Life is good.
You gonna make it through the show?
These things happen without warning. It just happened right now, and
it literally happened today.
They posted on Facebook in 2020 saying a year from now we'll be out of our deal with.
But you
Warner
don't
Brothers.
check every day.
No,
or do you?
I check like once a month.
Okay.
Okay.
But the main song off that album has 1,000 plays, so I'm assuming it happened today or yesterday.
Wow.
This is the best day of my life.
You gonna make it through the show?
the
You
best
gonna be
day
okay?
of his life.
This is the best day of my life.
Okay, just stay with us for the entire show.
And I
okay?
get to spend it with all of you.
Well,
Look at
there's a
that.
day
How sweet is
in your
that?
life where I called you and said, "Hey, we're gonna work together at DLLS."
That's true. Okay, that was the best day of my life. This is the second best
Now
day
hold
of my
on.
life.
I also texted you and said I was coming to work
All
with
right,
you.
well, that
so.
was the okay. So that was tied for the first day. This is the third best day of my
all
life.
right. I'm just making sure we don't get chopped liver around here. Mark Stein, what's going on? Good to
Mark
see
Stein,
you
did you
in
miss this?
studio.
I mean, it's not like I was hiding. I mean, I was traveling. I did
But
segments
the
with Kevin
chaos
Gray.
in person.
I did segments with Kevin Gray.
You did.
From London,
Slovenia.
Ljubljana, Vienna, Madrid, maybe even Bucharest. I'm always wherever I am always accessible. And now I got the hat
Merch.
that was in my contract. The hat, like 57% of the negotiations were I get the first DLLS hat.
And you got it. It looks good to you. By the way, someone commenting in the chat about the hat saying it looked good on you. So it looks like you're doing yourself a favor.
It is a good looking hat.
It's
It's such a cool logo. I love that logo. Good job, Eric.
Great job, Eric. Love
Great
it.
logo.
Merch.
Yeah.
We love merch.
Anyway, I'm not saying that you aren't around, Stein. You absolutely are. You're on the show. You're a constant presence.
I will be in the studio today. I'm here right now.
I'm just saying the chaos
I
here
will be in the
person-
studio tomorrow.
Yes.
Woo!
Two days in a row.
Look at that.
Thursday, I will be at Jazz Shoot Around, so I will have to do it from the arena because even though we are relatively close to the arena,
That's right.
I don't know at my old age how fast I can actually get here if I try to walk it.
I mean, the show's an hour long, so
We got to get him a scooter.
We
a
don't want
scooter, a bike.
I will not be trying.
Rollerblades.
I have great fear of that scooter.
When you
boy.
re-up next year, negotiate a DLLS bicycle.
A golf cart.
I could do a bicycle.
A DLLS branded golf cart.
Ooh,
Oh, that
would
might be kind of sick. Actually,
That
I'm not
would
gonna
be
lie
really
to you. Not gonna lie.
Stop coughing.
please stop coughing. Please.
Yes.
Okay, you guys talk while I.
Okay.
Bob is
gather,
like, please, like, we're gonna make sure he's okay
while I gather myself.
throughout the rest of the show.
We need you.
We need you, just like we needed basketball. And we finally got some last night. Dereck Lively II putting on a show for the Dallas Mavericks. They do fall in their preseason opener, 121-116. Score doesn't necessarily matter. It's about what actually happened on the floor. Our guys were in the building last night. Tim Cato, Bobby Curl, and Mark Stein all in the building at the AAC. I was watching it on the live stream at my office at the house. So the stream actually went pretty well. So for those who are wondering, who may have a little bit of an issue with it, we was able to get through it and watch it together.
Felt like a normal TV game.
For the most part, yeah. Shout out to obviously Mark Followill, Derek Harper, and Jeff Skinway, who are on the television call. So it felt like basketball.
Dana and Devin on the pregame show.
I did not watch the pregame show. I know they had an halftime interview with Kyrie Irving. That was excellent that they did as well.
You watched that and took notes?
I did not. I actually had to go feed the kid. It was dinner time at that particular point. So break time and then feed the kid dinner.
So Kyrie Irving might have said something really important.
Kyrie Irving was saying newsworthy things.
Yeah.
You were the only one
But
watching this stream
we don't
out of
know
the
about
four
it.
of us.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I decided to be a parent.
You're
You
putting
come-
your personal life before work.
You're
I
putting,
mean, work-life balance.
Are
That's
you
what-
serious
you're
right
putting
now?
That's
your
right.
child before
That's
DLLS.
right. My child comes before all of you, just so you know. Love you
Well,
guys in the chat, but my child comes before
The
all of
collective child of the Mavericks fan base is Dereck Lively Jr.
Ooh.
you. Oh, look at that.
That's
a very
Sid,
tall
professional
child.
segue. Look at you,
He's a very
Tim
tall
Cato.
child.
Dereck Lively was fantastic last night. Tim, you were in the building as well. What was the atmosphere like? Dereck Lively putting on a show. Jaden Hardy, the Hardy Party, was kind of open last night as well. Things that stood out based off of their performance.
What you watch for in a preseason game, especially a preseason game where you have this many starters out, 4 of the 5 starters were absent. None of the starting 5, the presumed starting 5, Dereck Lively came off the bench. None of them were starting. It was all bench players. Even some of the bench players are out. So what you watch for in games like this is moments. And Dereck Lively had a moment. He had several moments. The back-to-back dunks in the third quarter, that was fun. But it was the full that was also in the second quarter. But the full court dribbling himself, just receives the ball behind half court. He's like, I got this, guys. Takes 3 dribbles, spins in the lane, finishes. That's a moment.
he
that
went
is
full
something-
Shane McMahon coast to coast.
That's
with
something
that particular play.
that you can
yes.
take away from this game is that as many boundaries, as many restrictions as you know, or as high of a ceiling as you want to put on him, even his ceiling, at no point were we talking that he's going to be driving full court. And is he going to do this again at any point in the regular season? I would have said no, but maybe.
Honestly, maybe. Like,
Yeah.
Maybe
why
he's
not?
limitless.
Maybe. Like,
Limitless.
the Mavs had the floor spaced pretty well, so it's not like he was driving into traffic. I don't need a 7'2" guy driving into a crowded lane. I just don't want to ever see that. But there was 2 guys on the wing. There was a guy in the corner.
There was
It's
space.
just you and Santi Aldama. See if he can stop you.
And he did show this last season at times. He showed that in an open court. He has a Euro step. He has an ability to, shed a defender. It was a great performance. The only curiosity for me was, why was he coming off the bench?
I think he was coming off the bench because in training camp you divided up into 5-man lineups, right? You got your starters, you got your backups, you got your third string, you got your green team. This is the 4th teamers, and Gafford is the second unit 5. So I think that's why.
And so
That-
the A team was the B team.
Yes.
And that is indeed the way it was explained to me. So the fact that there were no other starters there, I think that's why they went with Gafford from the jump. But look, we shouldn't be surprised, because last season, how many times did Lively do things that made us say, this guy is just has a beyond his years maturity.
Mm-hmm.
But already we're like, he's carrying himself differently. There is I've been here swagger. I've established myself. And what I loved, I mean, as much as the highlight reel and, going coast to coast is, a highlight reel that will probably endure, even though it was only an exhibition game. And then beyond the dunks, I love watching bench reaction to dunks like that. And those 2 the bench loved every second. when he drained the little jump hook over Marcus Smart, the bench savored all of that. Like, he just, I think we expected again. You know, he's just in his, he's ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
He was ahead of schedule last year, and he looks like he's made significant progress just from last season.
That turnaround over Smart is exactly what we were talking about last week too, where it was a post move.
It was a post move
in the post, but it wasn't a dump it down. It was a set a screen for your guard. You draw a switch, go to the restricted area,
take advantage
turn
of the mismatch,
around, get big, catch the ball, and score. Now, it was like a 5 or 6 second violation. They should have called it, but it's preseason. It doesn't matter. He'll get quicker.
Everybody's in preseason right now. It's okay.
Yeah. But it was a catch, I think 1 dribble, turn, score.
Yeah.
And it looked easy. And that's against Marcus Smart, who's very good.
Yeah, good post defender.
Maybe
Yeah.
not the
Solid
best
post
player
Not
for an entirety of a season, despite what an award might say, but very good defender.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Hater.
Defensive
Yeah, I mean,
player of the
obviously he's a
year
guard.
shade at Marcus
He's
Smart.
He's
Oh
a
my
guard,
gosh.
and Lively had a significant size advantage, but
I've
He got
seen
the
Marcus
mismatch
Smart
with
pull
Marcus
in
Smart,
as
yeah,
bigs in the
Marcus
past.
Smart is a very stout and solid post.
I thought we've all looked back and agreed that Marcus Smart, defensive player of the year, was like an odd choice.
It is.
I thought he was good.
Shout out to him. Flower
He
Mound
was a good player. He
Flower
just wasn't
Mound
the
zone
singular
Marcus
best
Smart.
But
defensive
basically, I
player
think
in
what
the
we've
NBA.
established, Dereck Lively is the starting center on this team. It has not
Yes.
been proclaimed, it has not been announced, it has not been written in permanent ink. But I mean, is there any question that Dereck Lively is not starting against Victor Wembanyama on opening night, October 24th?
Absolutely.
Seriously?
Going to extend his stretch of outplaying Wemby to 4 or 5 straight games. We do have something that did just get announced. The Mavs
Yes.
PR announced, the Dallas Mavericks announced today that they have waived guard AJ Lawson. So that is some breaking news.
Yep. The Dallas Mavericks.
Emergency pod?
We're doing the pod right now, so no need for an emergency.
Sorry, I
one.
thought this was a pre-show.
No. This is an
okay.
actual
My bad.
podcast that we're doing right now. But
Oh.
yes, Mavs PR officially announcing the Dallas Mavericks announced today that they have waived guard AJ Lawson. Mark, you have been detailing this as far as the roster spots and how they were going to maneuver some of this. Obviously, signing Markieff Morris. Now we have an official movement when it comes to the AJ Lawson front here.
Right. So AJ Lawson last year was converted to a standard NBA contract. We know Markieff Morris is going to be on this roster. He is the old head voice that everyone looks to, turns to. And so we know he's going to be on the team. There were 16 guaranteed contracts. Well, Markieff Morris, technically not guaranteed until January. But basically, there were 15 guaranteed contracts in his way when the Mavericks re-signed Markieff Morris. So for AJ Lawson to stick around, he's going to have to be converted back to a 2-way contract. But because he was on a standard NBA deal, you have to waive him first. He has to clear waivers, and then the Mavs will have the option to re-sign him to a 2-way deal. But I think we're going to save the rest of that discussion for my segment later, because
Yes.
that also folds into the whole array of 2-ways and the campaign that you guys are all starting, that you want Jaz on the roster.
We're starting a campaign.
That was the message I got.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's news to
Basketball
me.
is jazz.
What I'll say to
They play the
summarize,
Jazz this
and we'll
week.
get
I mean,
get more into it. But
I mean, just saying.
AJ Lawson being waived does not mean he's not in contention for the 2-way spot.
Right.
Still in contention, perhaps, or could be. We don't know what the front
No,
office
he's
is
very
thinking.
strongly in contention.
But
I mean,
we'll find out more about that later.
More on the standouts from last night's game. Dereck Lively. Also, the Hardy Party was somewhat open, and other folks who made an impression on the game last night. We'll do that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast. But let me tell you about Sleeper. Sleeper, the fantasy app that you know for hosting the best fantasy football leagues. You now have a chance to download that. It's a game that allows you to put your knowledge to the test in every game by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats each week. Cowboys back in action on Sunday afternoon when they take on the Detroit Lions, looking for a 3rd consecutive win. I'm taking Dak Prescott to have more than 200 passing yards, CeeDee Lamb to have more than 50 receiving yards in that game. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. So if you think you have what it takes, and I know you do because you downloaded the Sleeper app, I've told you to do it before, and I want you to do it again. Make sure you download the Sleeper app, use code DLLS Mavs to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Don't forget, terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Making sure you check out Sleeper make sure you get yourself some money and check out Sleeper today with the best that you can do with Sleeper today.
I love live music. I love concerts so much. And there's a band that I love that's coming to Dallas in a few weeks. They're an indie pop band called Melt. It's their first time coming to Dallas, at least that I know. I've been following the band for years.
Melt.
Now,
it's such an indie pop band name.
and they're great. So you watch out. And to go see them, hey, you got to get a ticket to go to a concert, right? And there's no better place to buy concert tickets and game tickets than Game Time. Now, one of the reasons that I like using Game Time is, you go buy a concert ticket and it's like, oh, this is only $12. And then there's $5,000 of fees that you're surprised with at the checkout screen. Hey, none of that on Game Time. They have all-in pricing, so you know exactly what you're paying for up front. And another thing that is useful to many people that might not be as useful to me because I'm a tall guy, but you can see the view from your seat before you buy the ticket. So you can click on the section, you know exactly, hey, am I going to be standing behind people? Is this elevated seating or whatever? So if you're not a 6'3" giant twig like me, hey, Game Time is the place for you. To buy all your concert tickets and game tickets and more. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time!
Mark wasn't in on that.
That's a new tradition I missed while I was traveling in Europe.
You sure did. Yep. That's why you got to be in
So the Cowboys show kind of coined this. And I honestly did not even realize I was going to join in on it. But the moment you said it,
you felt it, didn't you?
I've been Pavloved by the Cowboy show over there.
It speaks to you.
It does speak to me.
Being in this podcast studio, my favorite thing about this studio, of course, is that I could actually read the comments.
That's
Did
right.
somebody actually put in there, Kato is actually very talented? Were those words actually
They
written?
also called him the Justin Timberlake of our boy band. By the way,
what?
So we're riffing about what we would be if we were a band. Owen Newkirk, good dude.
Yeah, throw out that comment
host
from
of
Owen real
Stars.
quick, Tanner, if you can, please.
Yeah, so it all started with it's up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Owen
It's
Newkirk,
up a little bit more, even
fantastic
past
host
that.
of our Stars
There it is.
podcast.
So it all started with this. Owen Newkirk comes in. He says, "Longtime listener, first time caller." Owen does our Stars podcast, guys. In case there's for anybody who's not a cross segment, just
Best Stars podcast in the game.
Agreed,
hands down.
But he says, "You guys are fantastic, and you look like the coolest boy band in the planet." So of course I hop into the comments and I'm like, "Who is playing what instrument? Who's the lead singer?" People say that I'm the lead singer. Somebody thinks that the theme songs on my last two podcasts, 77 Minutes and the Only Mavericks podcast, somebody thought that I had actually recorded them and sang them. I am so upset that Colin Cable is such a cool, good guy, and he's the guy who actually did them. Because if he was just like not a cool guy, I would totally just pretend it was me. But I can't.
You don't want to get on the
Unfortunately, it wasn't
internet
me.
and
So
tell lies.
that's how we got down this very long rabbit hole.
Somebody also
All
called
stemming
you,
from the comments.
They also called you the Justin Timberlake of our boy band.
So yeah, we support
gas you up even further.
We support everybody who listens to the show in any format, in any manner. If you watch on YouTube, if you listen on a podcast feed, all I'm going to say is that we have a lot of fun in the comments. If you're ever around to watch it live, we have a lot of fun in here.
We also had some fun last night watching the Mavericks on the floor. There were several guys that stood out. We mentioned Dereck Lively and the fantastic night that he had. There were some other guys that stood out as well. Jaden Hardy, big training camp and preseason for him as well. Last night had 21 points, had 6 3-pointers, 9 assists as well. But Bobby, something particularly stuck out for you when it comes to not only the play on the floor, but some of the things that you observed overall for the team, whether it be from a turnover standpoint or what else you may have seen and observed from last night's game.
Yeah, Hardy made 6 threes, and we'll talk about Jaz Gortman in a little bit. He made 4 threes. I mean, the team shot okay overall, 13 of 33 is 39%, which is pretty solid, but you expect there to be a little bit of sloppiness in the preseason. I said on the show yesterday I expected 20 turnovers. The Mavs only turned it over 14 times. The Grizzlies turned it over 23 times, so that's almost 20 turnovers per team. But where Hardy in particular struggled last night, and this is no knock against him because Zach Edey is a really giant human, but Hardy was 6 of 10 from 3. He was 0 for 6 on 2s. He missed 1 mid-ranger, and I believe his other 5 misses were all right around the rim. He took a lefty
He had
layup
two
in
mid-rangers,
transition.
but yeah.
Oh, two. Okay, so
Yeah.
4 around the rim.
It was like a turnaround 10-footer.
Okay,
And then
so he had a lefty layup in transition that didn't even catch the rim. It went right off the backboard, back the other way down the floor. He tried Edey a couple times, and Edey blocked him both times. And that's like that's the kind of the final frontier for him, right? We know he can be a good shooter, good catch and shoot guy. We know he can create his own shot, and he did flash, as a passer toward the end of last season. I thought his floor game last night was pretty good too, but you got to be better finishing around the rim, whether it's jumping too early or jumping too late or not jumping enough or not creating enough separation or challenging guys that he shouldn't. He's just really struggled around the rim at times, and last night that was definitely apparent. But again, Zach Edey is a huge guy. He's a very big man.
I also think return to full speed game conditions is an adjustment for everybody, because I thought even John Morant didn't finish great at the rim.
Yeah.
Like there was a rustiness factor there, and that's we all said going in it was going to be super sloppy first preseason game. But yeah, I mean, the way Hardy shot the 3, I mean, I think that they would
shot look good.
They would
shot look good.
They would obviously take that every day. And look, there's with the injuries, with no Exum now, with Luka still on the way back, there's the chance here to play. And this team is so deep, you've got to grab your chances to impress, because you don't know that you're always going to get them. Because this roster is so stacked.
The 3-pointers really stood out. I mean, this guy has Jaden Hardy has such a quick trigger. He is so willing to take the shots. He is able to make them. He's able to make multiple in the same game. This is not a low volume player. That stood out the most, in the positive columns. Unfortunately, it's the decision making that also kind of stood out as a negative to me. And people are going to look at the 8 assists, and that's great. 5 of them were in transition. And when you have a team that Memphis turned it over 23 times, there's going to be a lot of transition opportunities. When you're playing the very first game of preseason, your transition defense is going to be a little sloppy. It is absolutely a good thing that Jaden Hardy went out there and made sure to get the ball to people who could score. In fact, one of them was an around-the-back pass, a really pretty around-the-back pass, perfectly timed, all this stuff. Those are absolutely good things for him to have. These opportunities are not going to be there in the regular season, not to this extent. So when you see the 8 assists and you see the 4 turnovers, I thought that if it was closer when you're talking about half-court decision-making. It was closer to 3 assists and 4 turnovers. Mm-hmm. And it's the half-court decision-making that he has to improve. This is the way that he's going to carve out a rotation spot in a very deep, loaded, talented roster, is by being a much better half-court decision-maker. He wasn't that yesterday. I didn't see that. And again, you get so many asterisks and patience, because this is the first game of preseason, because everybody's adjusting to the speed of play, because he's playing a role that he's not going to play for Dallas necessarily, not to this extent. He's not going to be the on-ball guy. This doesn't matter, but the team was +4 in his time out there. Yep. I do think they looked better when they had somebody to focus the ball around, but still, in the half-court setting, I didn't see enough good decisions. This is still something I think he needs to improve on.
A lot of his decisions in the half-court, though, were like playing 5-on-5, whereas with Luka or Kyrie or both out there, he's going to be making a lot of decisions playing 4-on-3. So it's not that the transition is more representative of his ability to read the floor, but 5-on-5 is not. The Mavs are never, ever going to ask him to be the head of the snake on offense and make something happen. His where he really shined at the end of last season was being that kind of off-ball second guy, kick-out guy, attack the gaps. Whenever you have an odd man advantage, and figure something out. Make this simple.
What's transition if not an odd, a transition opportunity?
It's a little easier, obviously.
Now, yes, it's easier, but
2-on-1 is different.
Having a 4-on-3 or a 3-on-2 on the weak side of the floor, and that he's also good at transition opportunities where it's often going to be 2-on-1, 3-on-2. Yes.
Yeah, especially without Green and Jones, we've talked.
Just to hammer home the point that it's 5-on-5 that he really struggles with.
Yeah, and they need some transition, something. They need some juice in transition. Lively was getting up and down quite a bit in transition. Najee Marshall had a floater in transition. I thought Najee was pretty good too. There was this one play, there was one right at the end of the half. It was Dinwiddie spotting him at the corner. Mavs had a sideline out of bounds play. They inbound to Lively. Lively kind of goes around the back, behind the back to Najee. Najee throws a no-look behind the head pass to Dinwiddie in the corner. And I was obviously they're just doing a bit, but it was pretty cool.
It was a really fun play. And then Spencer shot it like off the side of
He
the
missed it
backboard.
by a lot.
And he was one of the guys that
I don't think it was actually, but
kind
yeah,
of struggled last night. Spencer didn't shoot the ball great last night. As we look at some of the box score from the game, went 1 of 6 overall from the field, 1 of 3 from the 3-point line. Was a -10 in his 17 minutes on the floor. Did start the game last night. Two things I do want to mention, and it actually has something to do with your boy, Bobby. Omax Prosper, I thought, played pretty well last night. Now, folks will look at the box score and say he shot only 4 of 12 from the field, but I thought he did a lot of good things on both ends of the floor from a playmaking standpoint in terms of some of the things that he was doing. Got an offensive rebound on a missed free throw, had a couple of steals as well. I thought he played a lot more under control last night, and that's one of the things for Omax that he's got to be able to do is slow the game down, be able to play with much more control and pace, and I thought he did some good things last night as well. I thought his energy was really good, and you could see that there are strides being made for him as he goes into this upcoming season. Again, another guy fighting for potential rotation minutes. And I'll go back to the beginning of the game. You know, we saw Quentin Grimes get the primary defensive assignment to start off with on John Morant. Again, didn't shoot the ball necessarily great, but you saw flashes of why a lot of folks, including us, are excited about the potential of Quentin Grimes and what he was able to do. Those were a couple of things that definitely stood out for me based off of watching the game, that Omax playing with a lot more control, and Quentin Grimes, you saw some of the defensive potential getting that initial defensive assignment on John Morant and was able to do some good things on that end of the floor.
Yeah, Grimes picked Jaw's pocket at one point.
Yeah.
He had a couple steals, I think. What did he end up with? Oh, he only 1 steal? What?
Yeah, had the 1 steal.
Oh,
Yeah.
I guess they gave a couple to Lively that ended up bouncing him. But anyway, I thought Grimes was okay. Omax got called for a foul whenever Jaw was ISOing Omax, trying to break him down, like right at the top of the key.
Story.
And I thought that they weren't calling this stuff anymore. Like I thought they were gonna like allow, and not even in like a homer way. Like literally, Omax is standing there, Jaw dribbles into Omax and then does this thing.
Yeah.
And they call him for a foul. I thought they weren't gonna do that as much this year. Like
Hey, it's preseason for everybody.
yeah. But like, you know, it's one thing if as the defender you like move toward the ball handler, kind of like hand check him or like get in his way or whatever. But Omax is like stepping back. Like beating him to the spot.
It was
doing
like the
body.
classic Maxi defensive.
Yeah. And then Jaw just kind of like
let the guy run into you.
Yeah, and Jaw just kind of lunged into him and they called it a foul on Omax. I thought that was a little unfair. He did commit 4 fouls. So there's still a little bit of like physical kind of sloppiness. But yeah, I thought Omax was fine. I did not like that they called that foul. There were a couple of fouls called where I was like, I thought we were leaving that behind last year.
What was it like to watch the game in the stands?
In the press box. I was back home.
Yeah, you had the bird's eye view up there.
Yeah, I was back home.
Oh, you were upstairs?
Yeah, I was in PB.
He's a
PBC
member of the
14
media now.
You got a specific number.
My bad. I thought you were going as a fan. I thought you were going with tickets and gonna misbehave.
He was working.
Yeah,
he went to work.
I was repping the new company. I got to see a lot of my old coworkers too, which was
because I probably should have saved this for the Steinline segment, but we might as well do it now. So I did see Chris Arnold before the game.
Yeah.
And he was, I believe, Chuck Cooperstein had to step into the ample high tops.
They didn't do it.
Oh, that's right.
Coop was down there, but I think Jaw's warm-up lasted so long, Coop couldn't do it.
So I asked Chris Arnold, I said, the whole DLLS team wants you to haul Bobby Carella out of the stands onto the floor to reprise your normal pregame segment. And he said if he sees you, he is definitely doing it.
Sounds like you're going to every Mavs home game this year.
Yeah, I did see Chris.
This is wholesome.
Yeah, it's tough. It's going to be tough because we got pregame going up right against that.
That's true. So you got to like get out of here, go over there.
Yeah, I might have to join live from the arena.
Oh, that would be excellent, actually.
Yeah.
Look at all these ideas.
Let's just do a pregame show on the floor.
At the arena.
We should do that.
Don't give us any ideas, Tim. Coming up next here on DLLS Mavs, we dial up the Steinline. Mark's time with his news and notes on the Mavericks and around the association. All that and more coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs Podcast.
Mark, you've got your hat. We've got shirts coming in. I don't know how many shirts you guys ordered though. Probably room for some more. Perhaps some Rowback. Maybe you need some Rowback in your closet because it's quite simple. Rowback has the best fit. They have the best feel. The quality of their gear just speaks for itself. Their performance polos perform better in the heat than any other polos. They're moisture wicking so that the polo doesn't stick to you, and it has a nice stretch. I think our shirts are going to be like that too. I've got a good sense that they are. Rowback's everyday shorts are also perfect for the combo. for a day on the move. They look clean, but they use the comfort of an elastic waistband. The collars never lose shape, and they have it all. Solids, classic stripes, and fun prints. So use the code DLLS20 for rhoback.com for a generous 20% off your first order. That's spelled RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all polos, hoodies, shorts with code DLLS20. Make sure to check them out, and they will have you ready for whatever travels or activities you have.
If you want to get fitted into some of the best sports gear around, you got to shop with our friends at FOCO. They have hoodies, shoes, signs, bobbleheads, everything in between. Tim Cato pulled up their website the other day. They got a bunch of gnomes, too. You want a Dallas Stars gnome?
You guys mocked me.
You want a Texas Ranger? I did not. No, I didn't mock you. I thought gnomes are awesome. I think gnomes are great. They even have friendship bracelets, too. So if you're going to a Mavs or Stars game, hey, you got a team-branded friendship bracelet that you can sport as well. So whether it's jackets, beachwear, even overalls, there's something for fans for almost every occasion, and they even decorated some of our set here as well. They have a few awesome pieces. So go show them some love and check out foco.com or click the link in the description below. For all non-presale items, use the promo code DLLS10 for 10% off. Again, foco.com, promo code DLLS10.
It's time to dial up the Stein line here on DLLS Mavs. Our National and Mavericks NBA insider Mark Stein live in studio with us with the latest on your Dallas Mavericks. Preseason game number 1 in the books. The Mavericks get back on the floor on Thursday. But Mark, as we recap the first game of the preseason, Mavericks having a chance to get some of their young guys on the floor as well, including a young man who made quite an impression last night with his energy and aggressiveness, especially on the offensive end, and one Jaz Gortman last night.
Jaz Gortman turned a lot of heads. He got an opportunity again because of the injuries in the backcourt, created this chance for him. And so instantly the question becomes, what kind of shot does he have at a two-way deal? The Mavs are quite crowded in the two-way department at this point. Of course, teams can carry 3 two-way guys. Brandon Williams, who has been around this team now for a while. They like him a lot.
He got name dropped by Jason Kidd last night when he talked about replacing Exum. It was the first name he said. I don't know if that means anything.
I think it is an indication of how highly regarded he is. And based on everything I've been told, he's had a very good training camp up to this point, and he's been in the program now for a while. Kessler Edwards, they haven't had a chance to look at him because of his ankle injury, but you know, he's a player with some NBA experience and someone that the Mavericks were very excited to be able to get on a two-way deal when they signed him in the offseason. And now just today we have the news that the Mavericks have waived AJ Lawson. As you noted, we've been talking about this for weeks. This has been an expected move because Lawson was converted to a standard NBA contract last season, but this season and the next 2 were not guaranteed. It was a 4-year deal he got, but basically the Mavericks needed to waive him and let him clear waivers to create the roster spot, the roster space they need to make sure they can keep Markieff Morris. But AJ Lawson has also been in this program for a significant time. He is very well regarded within the Mavericks organization. So he is more than just a contender, a very strong contender to get a two-way spot. For the Mavs to keep Gortman, they would have to part ways with one of those 3 guys. And so, again, this is Lawson, who's been in the program for a significant time, impressed to the point last season that his contract was converted to a full standard NBA deal. So you have to either move off Lawson or Brandon Williams or Kessler Edwards. So that would be a difficult move for the Mavericks to make in any of those cases to create a two-way spot for Jaz Gortman. So it's going to be hard for him to land a two-way deal realistically. But again, shot the ball fantastic last night. 4 threes, 19 points. So what if he does it again? Then the Mavericks really are going to be looking at a tough decision. And out of those 3, I mean, they haven't had a chance to see Edwards yet. They want to see what he looks like and if he can help them. You know, Brandon Williams, in the grand scheme of things, in the backcourt, you'd have to say he's ahead of Gortman for how long he's been here and you know, the time he's put in. The team just knows more about him. But yeah, interesting situation. I mean, what would you do?
I think Kessler Edwards is too valuable even without having seen him. I mean, I've seen him play in the NBA.
He has 138 NBA games.
Yeah,
that's got to be the most NBA games for any player on a two-way contract in the entire NBA.
NBA size, NBA length, NBA athleticism.
I'm gonna try to find that out. That's a kind of good stat that I love to put in my Tuesday numbers game. I'm gonna have to check on that.
That is a good stat. But in NBA defensive ability, can shoot a little bit. Obviously, the fact that he was on an NBA deal with a couple different teams and is now agreeing to a two-way means that there is some sort of league-wide perception that maybe there's a limit on his ceiling or that he's not as far along as maybe he should be or could be. But, just given this team's lack of guys between 6'5" and 6'9", I think you have to keep Edwards. Gortman, to me, feels a little redundant with Brandon Williams, so maybe it's between them.
So that was my question, and I don't know, Stein, if you have any absolute insight on this or how, whether it's the Mavericks or teams in general, think about two-way spots. When I think about two-way spots, I don't know. This is the first time I'm really thinking about it. It doesn't matter if you have redundancy. Is the idea that you're going to have, it's easier to have two wing style players, and AJ Lawson is certainly much more of a wing.
He's like 6'4", 180, though. I'm not sure that he's a wing, to be honest.
I think they'd rather avoid redundancy if they can. Like, if you have 2 3-way spots, it's a natural question. Do you keep Brandon Williams and Jaz Gortman in 2 of your 3 2-way spots?
If I'm a front office, I am keeping the players that I feel best about developing into worthwhile, like, deserving of minutes.
Jaz Gortman showed last night that he might be a guy who fits that bill based off of the excitement. Not only that, but obviously the way he shot the ball from 3 last night.
A lot of confidence, too.
A lot of confidence. He played with a lot of confidence.
100%.
Sure.
I will say this about a smaller guard whose profile is scoring. They're going to have good games and they're going to have bad games.
Sure.
It might just be that this was one of his good games. This is not me trying to knock him whatsoever, but I do think that his entire preseason, how he plays throughout preseason, is something that we need to keep more of an eye on before, getting too carried away. I mean, it's one preseason game, right? Everybody knows not to get carried away.
I don't know.
And here we are.
Organic is in the chat saying trade Luka, keep Gortman, which I think that's a good counterpoint. I do think that's a good take.
That's a real hot one.
The Mavs are actually holding out Luka to explore trade scenarios. No, that's a great take. I do like that take.
Speaking of superstars, Luka Doncic did not play in last night's preseason opener. We'll see about the rest of his availability during this preseason. But Jason Kidd, Mark, discussing last night the potential plans for Klay Thompson and Kyrie Irving. Both of them did not play in last night's preseason game, but there's hope that we will see them in the final 3 preseason games going forward here.
That is the sense I get, that they are at this point slated to play all 3 of those. And I think that's why you will see Lively return to the starting lineup as soon as Thursday against Utah. And then when it comes to Luka, Wednesday will mark 1 week from when the Mavericks announced the contusion injury. And so, will we get, it's not clear yet, will we get an update precisely on Wednesday? Will it wait till Thursday? The team initially said that his status would be updated in a week. So maybe we will get some sort of steer on Wednesday, which is tomorrow, I believe.
That's right.
Sources say.
That's right.
What about PJ Washington?
You got sources in the calendar? You got calendar sources? Man,
he's got sources everywhere.
I know I'm not like a Stein level newsbreaker, but like he's operating at a completely different level than me.
I'm glad you guys went with these little jokes because I completely lost my train of thought there in a senior moment, but now I've got it back. Luka was on the bench last night and very active in celebrating everything and just being with the guys. And, I think I discussed that last week as well. If this was some sort of serious thing, I think he would have been sent home from Vegas to basically come back to the Mavs facility and be like under full-on treatment. And he stayed in Vegas. He went to everything. He was on the bench last night. So, like, I really don't get the sense that there is any grave concern about this injury he sustained from an inadvertent kick in a pickup game the Sunday before media.
I said this yesterday, but him putting on the fan jam jersey of the opposite team, stepping onto the court and trying to get that team to pass to him, I think indicates to me that he's doing just fine. Spirits are up and
flinging in a full court shot.
Exactly. Like, clearly he's not running around. He's not doing wind sprints. He's not doing Well, maybe he is. I don't know. But, he's not doing...
Nobody was sprinting at Fan Jam.
No.
He's not doing
was a
100%
glorified
of
pickup
basketball
game for
activities,
sure.
but it is a precautionary thing. Clearly, his spirits are high. And yeah, it's Jason Kidd said before the game that the team hopes to have him back at some point this preseason. He also said that Kyrie Irving and Klay Thompson are likely to play the 3 remaining games, which is great news.
Sorry to cut you off.
No,
Is there any
No, you're
update
not.
on PJ? So it's a left hip tightness, I think. Is that like a does anyone know? Is that like
Jason
a
Kidd
real
also said that's
injury,
nothing
or-
to worry about.
Yeah,
Okay.
I kind of took that as we're
could've read
resting
my
our
article.
our main
Because
guys.
they just went out.
They
and
used the
said
2 rest designations
Yeah.
for Kyrie and for
Yeah,
Klay.
you
so-
only get so many of those.
Exactly. You only get so many rest designations for a
No,
potential
no,
game to see
Jason-
somebody.
I
Maybe-
wa-
maybe
I wa-
PJ
I
plays on
watched
Thursday.
PJ's whole warm up pregame, and he looked.
Jason Kidd was asked about it. He said, he said very clearly, it's not a concern.
Okay.
He
Maybe
was-
we'll see all 4 of those guys on Thursday night then
Yeah.
at American Airlines Center.
Against the Utah Jazz.
We'll all
Mike-
be
Mike-
there, right?
We
my-
will all be there.
My
I will
gut
be in the
says no
house.
Luka, but wouldn't be surprised if the other 3. But that's just my gut saying. Just my gut speak, though.
As long as Luka's ready for October 24th.
What are we talking about? Thursday?
Thursday night.
Yeah, there's no chance Luka's playing Thursday night when he's
Yeah.
been away.
Yeah.
He hasn't done anything for a week.
Yeah.
Well, he made a half court shot, a full court shot.
October
Sorry, I don't wanna
24th. That's
discount
the date that matters for Luka Doncic. As long as he's on the floor when they take on the San Antonio Spurs.
that. October
Okay,
17th
run him
because
out
we're
there.
doing live pre and post that night.
That's
so
there.
we-
I mean, there it could. Yeah, for sure.
Run him out there. Have him spot up in the corner like KP did in that one series against the Clippers.
Oh.
He doesn't have to run the whole show. Like, he's still a net positive to the team if he's out there.
Do you guys like the whole Mavs not playing until Thursday night? The Mavs and the Spurs are the last 2 teams to get their seasons going.
I love it. I feel like the 2 finals teams should be the last 2 teams to start. Like, they should be the ones to end the opening night of a regular season. Like, they were the last 2 teams in the finals. They should be the last 2 teams that get to showcase and be on the national stage for everybody to be able to watch. I think that's always the right thing to do.
I just have no opinions about it. I don't care. Is that a bad opinion? I love to talk, but I don't have one on this.
So
Well,
I guess
if
my
you
It's
don't
Stein's segment anyway.
if
so
you don't
gotta worry
care,
about
why
it.
should our
It's-
viewers?
Well,
and
that's what I'm
listeners?
saying. I'm about this specifically. I'm saying, yeah, it's not a big deal. This
Well,
is not.
I guess-
this is not the NBA
I
showing
guess
disrespect
what I
to the
do
Mavericks.
care here is I do like Mavs Spurs on opening night.
Yeah,
Me too.
Two years
It
in a row?
should be a thing every year.
Yeah,
2 years
it's
in
a
a row?
marquee game.
Every year.
It's
There-
kind of like
there
Giants
needs to
Cowboys.
be-
Every year they kind of open up the season. It feels like.
Yeah, like
every-
the NBA tries to do like rivalry week or whatever, but like, come on, just do Mavs Spurs on opening night. Just
Yeah.
have repeatable opening nights and repeatable last games of the seasons.
There you go.
I just fixed the NBA.
You did again.
You're on a roll
Supposed to be
today.
solving world hunger too.
Inspired
by
by that musical
Are the-
bombshell.
I
of the
mean,
show.
I'm levitating.
Are they going to do rival?
I'm not gonna lie.
Okay,
I
Dua
can never
Lipa.
say. Are they going to do rivals week again?
Which can I say something real
Oh,
quick?
hot take from Bobby.
I want to close out
hot
this segment
take.
with some
Oh,
freaking
no.
fire. Thanks, Mark, for that. So anyone that's been
Right.
to a game at American Airlines Center, you get there early enough. They put a QR code on the jumbotron, which, by the way, they updated the jumbotron again. It looks even nicer this year. I got some inside info on that from sources. But they put a
Bobby's
QR
got
code on the
sources. Look at
jumbotron.
that.
You scan it
Watch
on your
out,
phone,
Stein.
and you can vote for which song is going to be that night's karaoke song. So the sing along song. Now, if you've been to a million Mavs games, you know it's basically just a rotation of the same 4 or 5 songs every time. But
It's more
every
than that.
single game that has ever been an option, I have voted for Levitating by Dua Lipa. And they
Oh,
have
that's a good
never,
song.
ever played it during the karaoke song. So I don't know how many voters are out there.
Don't I get bonus points for knowing
no.
that Levitating is by
I
Dua
was very
Lipa?
impressed.
I need you
Because they actually
all
play.
night.
They actually, yeah.
We're gonna
Hold-
get flagged for copyright violations.
Oh,
So
sorry.
that sounded too good.
They-
Oh.
because they
No
actually,
one's ever
they,
going to mistake me for doing
they actually played a Queen
Well,
song
EBC 's
yesterday.
gonna get us
I would
from Mike
never
Green.
participate in
That's true.
karaoke,
That's
but
true.
I actually knew all the words.
Bohemian Rhapsody is a banger. It's one of my.
Banger.
It's
Oh,
on
that's
the
a great
podium. It's on the podium. The metal
Don't
stand.
stop me. Okay. Before we finish up in this segment, Mark,
This
did you
show
have
is
any other?
off the rails.
It's great.
Oh, it always
Hey,
is.
That's all right. It's
It
never off the
always
rails when
is.
all of us are in studio.
Also, why don't we just go tell Cornblith to play it?
Anyway,
You don't want to use your powers like that?
wait. What?
Can you
do I
let the
have?
man do his segment,
have?
please?
It's your segment, actually. It's your segment. Any news on John Morant? John
I'm gonna
Morant
talk
turned
to
his ankle last
Yeah, look,
night.
I mean, John Morant left the game twice.
Yeah.
And both he and Taylor Jenkins insisted it's minor and everything's going to be fine. But just a couple quick I mean, the Grizzlies last season went through so much that I'm sure for any of their fans that was harrowing to watch twice. I mean, they've already lost GG Jackson. I mean, last season, I think the Grizzlies set records for players on a roster, starting lineups in a season, and man games lost to injury.
Almost
I think
600 man
I
games
think they
lost.
set the record in all three categories. So it's
Yeah.
like, I'm sure Ja will be fine. It didn't look like anything major, but really the only reason I wanted to get into it was just there have just been an inordinate, a high number of injuries
Yeah.
already this season. Like, seriously, in this show, I'm sitting here tweeting about RJ Barrett out for the rest of the preseason in Toronto. Malcolm Brogdon had to have a thumb surgery. I mean, it has just been, in a week plus, it has just been one thing after another. And, I don't want to be so negative, but it just, God, enough already.
Yeah.
I mean, it just feels like every day, it's way too early in the season for this.
It's always one of the dark clouds of any preseason for any sport is the injuries that could potentially rise out before you get to actual regular season games. And the NBA, unfortunately, is not immune to that when it comes to some of the injuries around the league. But hopefully those guys can get healthy for their respective
What's
teams.
the word I'm trying to say? Inordinate?
Inordinate.
You had it.
You had it. Don't worry about it.
God, I'm aging.
It's your segment, Stein.
Aging before your eyes, gents. Aging before your eyes. It's all falling apart.
Make sure you dial up the Stein line on X at the Stein line. Mark Stein dropping his news and notes here on DLLS Mavs. He'll be back with us in studio tomorrow as well.
2 days in a row.
2 days in a row for Mark Stein. Coming up next, the NBA GM survey is out. A lot of Mavericks notes to discuss, including if Luka is the best point guard, shooting guard, and small forward in the NBA. We'll do all that next year on the DLLS Mavs Podcast.
Who's
DLLS internal.
Oh my God. I was thinking I'm second. I've been second every one this show, but there's only one. Here's what I'm going to tell you about Die Hard. Sorry, I was reading some rumors. I can actually talk about rumors now on alldlls.com/Mavericks, where you can get all your Mavs news. And some of that stuff is going to be behind a paywall. Hey, you want to read the entire site? Here's how you can do it. alldlls.com/diehard. For less than $7 a month, you get access to the entire website. You get a free shirt. Unclear if you get a free hat at this time. Mark Stein, you might be a one of one. This
is a one of one PE edition hat.
Ooh, a PE.
Ooh.
Dang.
What does that mean?
Wow.
Players edition.
Player exclusive.
Come
Player
on, Tim.
exclusive,
You got
thank
to
you.
catch up with the lingo, my guy. Come
Oh
on now.
my goodness
Come on
gracious.
Player exclusive.
Maybe I'll write
Analyst exclusive. AE. It's an
Yes,
AE.
a Stein
I've just
line
never been a
exclusive.
player, so
Oh,
I don't get those types of
Insiders
exclusives.
exclusive. Maybe.
yeah. So
not all of us play tennis with Dirk.
you also get a free shirt. You get to join the Die Hard only Discord. You get a discount on merch. You get a discount on future events. Also, you get early access to future public events. Like, for example, we're going to have some pretty cool Cowboys pregame events coming up here in just a matter of weeks because it's football season, but it's also going to be basketball season too. And to read all of our post-game analysis from every single game the rest of the year, you need to become a diehard. Also, I'm sure Tim is going to have some breaking stuff, some behind-the-scenes stuff, some source stuff, some reported stuff as the season wears on as well. So
Absolutely.
you want to read all that, you need to become a diehard. Do that. If you do it, you become so much cooler, so much smarter, so much more interesting, so much more attractive, so much just better as a person. As we all have since we started working here together. So you should do that. It'll make me very happy. Thank you.
alldlls.com/diehard. Become a diehard member today. Get your physical diehard card as well. As we finish up our show today here on DLLS Mavs. The Mavericks, of course, finished up their first preseason game last night against the Memphis Grizzlies. They'll be back on the floor on Thursday against the Utah Jazz in their second preseason game, hoping to see Klay Thompson and Kyrie Irving in that game. But also, Tim Cato, we got some news as well before we get to the NBA GM survey. Some news on the Mavericks front office as Cynt Marshall has announced her retirement at the end of this calendar year.
Yeah, just wanted to address this real quick. I won't read every statement, but she will retire at the end of this calendar year. She will continue in a consultant role through the end of December 2025. So 1 year as a consultant. Mark Cuban said, bringing Cynt to the Mavericks 6 years ago was one of the smartest decisions I've ever made. She has led this organization to new heights with grace and integrity, and her light will continue to shine bright throughout the community. Thank you, Cynt. Cynt talked about, she said, in my wildest dreams, and I have some pretty big dreams and some wild dreams in my life. I never saw this coming. While I grew up playing sports, supporting my 3 children in their sports endeavor, and can often be down cheering for my favorite sports teams, all of this is very different. From receiving a call from a proprietor of an NBA team with a passionate, and I can't express that enough, with a passionate and heartfelt invitation to contribute to sports and the community in a very unique way. Obviously, when Cynt joined the Mavericks, the team needed change badly, desperately, morally. They needed the franchise and the organization to be different than what it was. Cynt absolutely changed the Mavericks. She absolutely loved the Mavericks. You could see that anytime you ran into her in the hallways, walking around. She knew me by name within months. Like within maybe a couple months, and would always be like, Tim, and she would always be so excited, and she'd be asking me about just how excited I was about the team after a big win, stuff like this. And so she really did care about the Mavericks. She absolutely changed the franchise. The franchise is certainly has changed from where it was in 2018, and it needed to change. It had to change, and she was instrumental in driving that. So just wanted to acknowledge that on the show. What it means on the basketball court, if that's the pure lens that you view the Mavericks through, which is understandable, probably not too much. We'll see. Certainly, there are some changes happening with the inclusion or with the new ownership taking charge. But I just want to acknowledge after 6 years that Cynt was leaving the Mavericks. That's just a bit of Mavericks news. And now we can go to the GM survey.
Yeah, the NBA GM survey is out. Several things involving your Dallas Mavericks. I see y'all in the chat, by the way, talking about, Najee Marshall, the knife. What kind of knife is he actually? That might be actually a question we have to answer at some point. What kind of knife is Najee Marshall?
There are multiple kinds of knives.
Bowie.
I mean, Swiss Army knife.
He's in Dallas now.
Chef's knives.
No, he's not a Swiss Army knife. That's how he got coined.
That's true.
Oh, like
a
butter knife?
Or is it Bowie knife? I think it's Bowie knife.
There's all kinds of knives out there.
It's a butter knife. That's offensive.
Steak knife?
Steak knife, maybe.
Knife.
Folded steel.
Knife.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Ryan. We'll answer that at some
It's
point.
a machete.
Wait, is that a
Wow.
knife?
A bayonet.
Oh, that's a knife.
I would describe a
Bayonet
machete.
is not a knife.
That's not a knife.
Bayonet's not a knife, but I would
Yeah, I
say
was like,
machete's
what?
a knife.
Okay. Double ceramic knives.
Yeah.
So
This is the newest cereal soup. Is machete a knife?
Tomato, of course. NBA GM survey is out. Lots of things involving your Dallas Mavericks, including if lukadoncic is the best point guard, shooting guard, and small forward in the NBA. Is Sean Sweeney the best assistant coach in the league? Lots of notes here from NBA.com's annual GM survey. Shout out to our guy Mark Stein, who brought this to attention, said we need to talk about this today on the particular show. One of the questions, gentlemen, that is highlighted, and Tanner has some of these. If you're watching the program live, if you're listening, you'll be able to follow along as well. Who is the best point guard in the NBA today? Luka Doncic is getting 37% of the vote. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander getting 30% of the vote. Stephen Curry getting 23%, and former Maverick Jalen Brunson getting 10% of the vote as the best point guard in the NBA. Agree, disagree?
I mean,
what is a point guard?
Yeah,
that's my question. What is it? Because like Luka and Steph do not play the same position. Those guys do not. Those guys barely even play the same sport.
I think they play the same sport just a little bit differently in the way they go about playing the same sport.
I think Luka is much more a point guard and Steph is much more of a shooting guard. Or is that like weird to say? It also doesn't really. I'm not.
No, it's funny that we're in this era of the positionless NBA.
Yes,
but the questions posed to the GMs of the league is it's broken down into 5 different positions.
Yeah.
And
why is he getting votes in 3?
No, that's it. That's
the point. That's why it's positionless.
That's what jumped out to me the most. That Jokic won the vote for, best international player
with 87% of the vote,
which is a little lopsided. I mean, not surprising because Jokic does have that rep around the league as a 3-time MVP now, but is it really that? Should the disparity, maybe we need to do some sort of cross show with DNVR and do some sort of cross magical.
I don't want to debate Adam on this. I don't want to do it.
But for Luka,
this is a flaw.
For GMs to list Luka at 3 different positions tells you something. The guy is very talented and versatile if he's factoring into the point guard, shooting guard, and small forward rankings in this survey.
I will say, this is a flaw in the way that we consume statistical analysis like this. If 87% of people think that Jokic is this much better than Luka, and they vote that way, our brains want it to be like, well, they're so close. Everybody thinks it's only this close apart. I'm doing a very small thing with my hands for the podcast listeners.
I can't wait till folks hear that and comment on that on the podcast. That's going to be epic.
Doing a very small thing with my hands.
Doing a very small thing.
It's a small measure.
And he did it again on the video.
But if they think the difference is like just my slightly like Jokic is slightly better than Luka, and they've all vote that way. It's gonna look like in our brains, well, they're so close, like talent wise, it should be like 55-45 or 60-40.
I think Luka's better than Jokic.
I would.
I don't know. I don't even know if I believe that. I'll just be contrarian here.
Maybe
Luka's better.
I would maybe agree with that.
I don't think
87%. It's not that that's the actual disparity between the two.
I don't know that anyone should be so confidently saying that Ant is better than Luka. I don't think that's even close to being true.
No, I don't think
it's
that.
really
People
weird
said
that Ant finished higher than Luka in the best two guard thing, and that's probably because not enough GMs consider Luka a shooting guard. So maybe we just shouldn't do the GM survey, Mark. I don't know.
No, but it's great. It's great.
It's good content.
I mean, that's the thing. It always gets people talking. I mean, look at the standings. In the standings, the GMs have Dallas 4th in the West.
Ooh,
Behind Oklahoma City, the runaway leader, Minnesota at number 2, Denver at number 3, Dallas at number 4. I think I would flip Dallas and Denver.
yeah.
I think the Mavs.
I might flip Dallas and Minnesota.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, you can make the case that Dallas should be 2. They went to the finals and they had a very strong offseason. Our pal Tim, I've been kind of like the Mavericks had a strong offseason. Tim Legler was, who was a huge fan of what the Mavs were doing last year. I mean, he says it's
And our teammate at All City, by the way.
a clear improvement. So I mean, it obviously is eye of the beholder type stuff. But yeah, I mean, Oklahoma City is pretty much everyone's favorite to win the West regular season crown. But that, I always find it interesting where Minnesota, Denver, and Dallas kind of line up, and the GMs have the Mavs at the bottom of that list.
Here's the thing that I still do not understand. Dallas was one team for half of last season, and then they made trades and they became a different team, and they went 21-7 up until the last 2 where they rested players. 21-7. I feel like looking at Dallas through the lens of the totality of their season, sure, this team was a 5th seed. They had to, win games on the road every time. They were not the favorites. If that's what they were the entire year, I would understand where this is coming from. If they stayed the same team, I would understand where this is coming from. I don't understand how the Mavericks, who they actually are, who their actual team is. I don't understand how that's being diminished.
Preach,
Spit.
Tim.
Tell him.
I don't get it.
Tim with the
don't get it.
takes.
Because
Tim's
it's making
takes.
me feel insane, like an insane homer, as I'm a biased journalist here.
You are
because
on the
I
Mavs
am
podcast,
looking at this
so.
team and I'm looking at the NBA and I do not understand. I do not think this is what I'm being. I think that everybody else is wrong.
You're being objective. Oh, wow, everybody else is wrong. I mean, look, if you're objectively looking at this team based off of what they were in the first half versus the second half of the year and projecting what they're going to be going into this upcoming year, you could look at what they've built based off their new identity, being a defensive team and being able to make their way through the finals last year. Yeah, that this is one of the 4 best teams in the West and arguably a top 2 team in the West.
Apologies, though, to Jesse, the Tim Cato fan. The Mavericks are not winning 67-70 games in this West.
Oh,
If
no.
the Mavericks
That
challenge
is
to
not-
win
that is not-
65
What if you
to
include the
70
postseason?
Okay, fine. Maybe.
I mean, I predicted they were going to go 98-0.
That means you pretty much
Well, yeah. So to win 70 games, they would just need to win 54 in the regular season, and then
16 to win a championship.
Can I
Woo! We just got the Mavericks 70 wins on DLLS Mavs.
can I run you down the roster
Are you holding
of,
the mic again, Tim? What are you doing?
of a couple
Yeah,
times
this
the
is,
Mavs
this is my last minute of the show bit. Go
Okay.
ahead.
when the Mavs played the Wolves last season, on December whateverth, their starting lineup was Luka, Exum, Derek Jones, Grant Williams, Dereck Lively. Tim Hardaway was the only player off the bench that played more than 13 minutes. Later in December, the Mavs went up to Minnesota and lost by 8. Their starting lineup was Dante Exum, Jaden Hardy, Derek Jones Jr., Grant Williams, Dereck Lively. They had Tim Hardaway, Dwight Powell, and Seth Curry combined to play 92 minutes off the bench in that game. The Mavs were a completely different team at the start of last season.
Yeah.
It is very strange.
Dallas
It's just weird.
Dallas was about
Yeah.
middle of the pack when it came to injury with times missed. Maybe closer to bottom 10.
But I'd say like the quality of people that got hurt was more than.
Did I
other
tell you
teams.
that
That's-
we didn't even
that's
get
correct.
through this whole GM survey in a segment? I told you this
This is why we have tomorrow's show.
I also had
Mark Stein.
I
That's
had
why
to
we
do
have
the same
tomorrow's show.
monologue at the top, so that cut into time. I would also say that Minnesota
You didn't
and
have to do
especially Oklahoma City. No, it's worth acknowledging.
No, I know. I'm
Minnesota and especially Oklahoma
he's being
City
facetious, Tim.
both had extreme injury luck go their way. And someone just mentioned in this, Jesse, I think mentioned
yeah,
this in the
Kyrie
comments.
missed more games last season than OKC's entire starting lineup combined.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
just
Right.
think about that.
And Kyrie is going to miss games. That's kind of baked into the equation. Oklahoma
Yeah,
City
but
is a
more than a
very
whole
young
team?
team.
More than a whole team.
But yes, I've brought up
OKC
I
had
brought
the
up
beneficiary
OKC's
of health
injury luck
last year for
before, and I
sure.
really think that's an important part of this. Like, that contributed to how good they were. Now, this is a much deeper team that it can survive a bunch of these injuries. Although, you also see Chet Holmgren's new jumper.
I did.
Retool jumper for
I
Chet.
have questions.
What's going on here?
Wait a minute.
What's going
I
on
want
here?
to see this live.
Oh, we need a live reaction to this. Oh no.
Where? How do I find it?
Scroll.
That's
What,
keep
you
going.
memorized
It's
Bobby
memorized-
Brown
it's
trying to
this
find
one.
Chet.
memorized
It's
the
this one.
Thunder Twitter
Tanner's like,
account?
what is happening
Oh
on
my
this
God! What is going on?
I know, right?
That's how we'll end it today here on
What
the
is
DLLS
that?
Mavs, boys and girls.
It's terrifying.
Don't do that.
You can come back with us tomorrow
It's like a horror
at
movie.
12 p.m.
Don't shoot the ball like that.
Mark Stein will be in studio
I don't like
with
to do
us
2 days in a
as
row.
well. 2 days in a row for Mark Stein.
Gonna
We'll
wear the
have
hat again too.
more live
Don't
reaction
do that.
from Bobby Carella on Chet Holmgren's jump
That's how
shot.
Bobby shoots.
And I promise you, we'll do better tomorrow here.
Actually,
on
Bobby's
DLLS
jumper looks better than that.
Mavs. That's good
Faint
call,
praise.
Tanner. You're right. For Mark Stein, Bobby Carella, Tim Cato, my name is Kevin. Mercifully, we will try to do better for you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
See y'all.
We all silly like the mayor.